You missed the most important part of the Xbox showcase. What's up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff, the latest news, rumors, games, accessories, pretty much anything I want to talk about as long as it's about Xbox in some way. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the Xbox showcase. Specifically, how they teased their most exciting stuff yet without showing any trailers for them. So this past weekend, I was at Summer Games Fest and the Xbox Showcase, or what was left of the Xbox Showcase. As you probably know at this point, there was not a live show like they've done in the past. It was digital only, online only, but they did have a media watch room for us to gather and take notes, and then go straight into our demos and hands-on appointments. Separate from that, there was an unofficial FanFest where a bunch of Xbox fans and creators, Aaron Greenberg and Jason Ronald were there apparently. They all met up for a watch party downtown, which I thought was super cool. Shout out to all of y'all. All of that to say, the vibe was different this year. I've been going for the past 4 years, and historically, when Xbox has a showcase, they have this big blowout event, they rent out a big theater, they got FanFest going on. There's a lot of theories as to why this happened, why there was this shift. But here's what I think. I believe the more low-key vibe of this showcase is actually the prelude to something much bigger. A lot of people have been praising Xbox for a strong start to 2025. The first 6 months of 2025, they released Avowed, South of Midnight, Doom: The Dark Ages. They had some bangers added day one to Game Pass like Expedition 33. Don't forget the Oblivion remaster as well in the same month. And so there were a lot of questions of, okay, how are they going to follow that up? What about the second half of 2025? And it's looking like there's no signs of slowing down in terms of their release cadence. In July alone, we're going to see the release of Tony Hawk's 3 and 4 and Grounded 2. In October, we'll be getting The Outer Worlds 2 and a new game from Double Fine, Keeper, as well as a DLC for Indiana Jones, The Order of the Giants. And oh yeah, also throw in Gears of War Reloaded coming out in August. And that's not even including all of the other partnered stuff that's coming out, all of the third-party editions that are going to be added to Game Pass as well. But even beyond that, even if you're sitting there thinking, man, 2025 has been a great year in terms of Xbox releases, Game Pass Day 1 editions, if you think this stretch is nice, if you think, oh yeah, releasing Avowed, Doom: The Dark Ages, South of Midnight, those games, Oblivion Remaster, all in succession back to back to back, if you thought that was sweet, how about a new Gears, a new Halo, a new Fable, and a new Forza all back to back to back in the same year? Because while we didn't see trailers for any of those games, Phil Spencer himself came out and confirmed that all of those games, new entries, and all of those franchises will be out in time for Xbox's 25th anniversary. Okay, he didn't specifically say Halo or Forza Horizon 6. He mentioned Fable, Gears, which we already knew were in development because we've seen them already, Forza, but also a franchise, a new game in a franchise that's been with them since the beginning. I have to assume that's Halo, something to do with Halo. We know that 343 is now Halo Studios. They're working on multiple Halo projects. I'm gonna choose to believe that it's a new Halo game that Phil is talking about, because if the 25th freaking anniversary comes around and they come out and they're like, oh, we got a new thing to announce regarding Halo. Master Chief Collection is coming out on Switch 2 and PlayStation. I'm gonna absolutely lose it. So we're riding this wave of 2025, all of these releases that Xbox is hitting us with. We're riding that wave straight into another year where we're gonna see new entries in Xbox's most iconic franchises. Now here's the thing, I went into the showcase wanting to see one game and one game only, and that was Fable. I was going into it like, as long as they show me Fable, I'm gonna be a happy man. They can show me 45 minutes of slop and then a 5-minute trailer of Fable and I will be happy. Of course, that didn't happen. But this claim that Phil made before the Black Ops 7 reveal, if they manage to deliver on that, it's gonna be insane. We already knew that Fable was delayed out of 2025 into 2026. I should have seen the writing on the wall then that after that happened, they were gonna feature in the showcase, especially since Outer Worlds 2 was getting that direct slot right after. But I think it's entirely doable, absolutely achievable for Xbox Game Studios to have all of those games ready for 2026. If we go ahead and look back on their last anniversary event back in 2021, and sort of the same holiday window, we got Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite. That was a great moment for Xbox as a company, great moments for fans. So imagine that feeling that we had back then getting a new Halo and a new Forza Horizon game, and multiply it by at least double, because not only are we potentially getting new Halo and Forza Horizon games next year, but also Fable and Gears E-Day. And potentially Hollow Knight Silksong. They snuck that in so sly, so smooth, bundled it into the announcement of the Xbox Ally handhelds, being like, oh yeah, we won't show you a trailer, but you'll be able to play that game whenever we release this device. I guess that's looking at it optimistically, because I guess technically they can release these devices in holiday of 2025, and Silksong won't come out until 2026. So technically, yes, you'll still be able to play it on those handhelds, but we'll see when that timing kind of matches up. I cannot stress enough how huge it would be for Xbox, how huge it would be for fans to see new entries in all of these games that Phil has mentioned, even in the same year, especially since we're not seeing a lot of first-party activity from PlayStation, at least not in the way that we used to. This could be absolutely massive for them, and it has me looking ahead to the future with excitement, not just the rest of 2025, but beyond that as well. And then who knows, 25th anniversary, you drop all these games, you know what else would be cool to reveal? I don't know, maybe these next-gen Xboxes that we keep hearing about. Probably not the handheld, because they kind of paused work on that, but how about the successor to the Series X? As far as the rest of the showcase goes, I will admit that this year, the Xbox showcase, it didn't have nearly as much hyped moments as last year. I remember walking out last year of that show and just feeling this energy. Everyone was super excited, and the reaction online was like, wow, Xbox, that was like one of the best shows that they've ever done. Probably the best like game showcase that we've seen over the past couple of years. This year, I believe there was a lot of solid games, but nothing that really made me crap my pants out of excitement. I thought it was a really smart move to lead with the Xbox Ally handheld. We'd already been hearing a lot about them rumor-wise. We saw a leak of the dummy model, like what the chassis would look like. So to come out with that, be like, yeah, these are the new Xboxes, quote unquote. You may not be able to play like your console Xbox games natively on this, but you'll be able to play all of these upcoming games on it. Plus, we're really going hard on Xbox Play Anywhere. So if you buy these games on console, in case you buy this thing, you'll be able to play it on there as well. And like I mentioned earlier, it was just genius for them to sneak in that Silksong announcement as well. I talked about this in a previous video, so I won't spend too much time on it, but if you missed it, I did get to demo these handhelds. I see a lot of people saying, yeah, this looks fine, this looks okay, like there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't get me excited. Getting to experience it firsthand, it was a lot cooler in person than it sounds on paper. As a guy who uses the regular Ally, the base Ally, it alleviated a lot of my frustrations, the Xbox full screen experience, the new UI that they have on this thing. I got to play a little bit of Gears of War Reloaded, and it looked really solid on that. They even had the FPS counter in the middle, and it was hovering around like 57 to 60 FPS the whole time. Seeing your Steam library integrated into this Xbox full screen experience was crazy, but also very convenient as someone who has a little bit of mix of Steam games in my library. Overall, I'm excited to learn more about it. They were very clear about, oh yeah, this is still a work in progress, we're still working on it. I think the make or break thing is going to be the price, honestly. That's the one thing that a lot of people keep asking me in the comments, price, what's the price, what's the price? We don't know yet, but if they come out and they say, yeah, the Xbox Ally X, that's gonna be like $800. I imagine that's not really gonna go over well. It was interesting because we're used to Xbox revealing a lot of new stuff. Sometimes that stuff doesn't come out for the next like 3 or 4 years, but we're used to like new game announcements, world premieres. And while they still had those moments, this showcase seemed like they were building on the success of games that were already pretty solid for them in years past, whether they were first party or partnered games. High on Life 2, Grounded 2, a new adventure for Indiana Jones, the new DLC, Gears of War Reloaded, Planet of Lana 2, Tony Hawk 3 and 4, and I guess Black Ops 7. They managed to throw in a few surprises too. Grounded 2 came out of nowhere for me. And of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy XVI finally coming on over to Xbox consoles. I knew that they were working with Square and that they were like, yeah, we're gonna bring more of our games over to the Xbox platform. But it was kind of like a trickle, you know, we got Final Fantasy Online. That was cool, but like these new mainline games that were coming out, we were hearing nothing about them. So that was a nice surprise. And the fact that they were like, yeah, you want to play Final Fantasy XVI, the newest one? Well, you can play it right now because it's out today. A little shadow drop action, that was cool. This showcase taught me that I probably need to take Clockwork Revolution more seriously. It's always looked like an interesting game, but from the early trailers, I just thought it was going to be like a BioShock Infinite type shooter. What we saw from this game at this showcase showed that it had a lot more to offer than what I was initially thinking. I didn't know that you'd be able to create your own character. I didn't know that there was like this RPG class system. I didn't know that like you would have dialogue options that could lead to different story outcomes. And while they kind of showed off the time travel, time control mechanic in previous trailers, they made it look a lot cooler in this trailer, being able to manipulate your environment and definitively showing that your choices when you travel back in time will affect the world of the game. I really can't wait to see more about this game. It's shaping up to be a real cool, original looking IP. Outer Worlds 2 is looking pretty damn solid as well. You can see that this game, they do have a way bigger budget for this game than they did for the first one. I thought the NPC character movement and facial expressions were miles better than what we saw in Outer Worlds 1. The negative perks are hilarious, like the staring into the sun so you got cataract situation, bad knees. I was happy to hear them mention that treating your companions like it's actually important to treat them well, or else. Because for anyone who played Avowed, I don't know how y'all did it, but I treated my companions like crap. I barely talked to them, I was mean to them, and in the end, story-wise, it really didn't matter. Speaking of Avowed, I thought it was cool that a lot of the traversal mechanics that I liked in Avowed, like the parkour, the clamor, seems like they're making their way into this game as well, although you will get a double jump, it seems. The guns look awesome, the shooting looks a lot smoother than that first game, more dynamic, especially in the reload animations. They threw me a bone with that Fable news towards the end, but they totally left out, just completely ignored some other stuff that I was expecting to see. State of Decay 3. Where was it this year? Like, it's so weird how we got a trailer for it last year and then just no word on it at all for this showcase. That has me really concerned for when are we gonna see this game? And at this point, I mean, it's been 4 straight years of me covering Xbox showcases and not a peep about Everwild. Glad to see that Rare is still hard at work with Sea of Thieves, with that Smugglers update, but Everwild, at this point, I'm just gonna have to assume that it is never coming out. Beyond that, I did get to demo some of the games that they showed off. I mentioned that I played Gears Reloaded on the Ally, but I did get to do a separate experience where I played it on a Series X. And we were able to rotate it too, because I had it available on the Series X, they had it available on PC, on the Ally, and also a PS5 Pro. And I gotta admit, I was curious, I was tempted, I was like, I kinda wanna see what the DualSense feels like on this thing, but I was like, you know what, my audience is not gonna give a damn about how this game plays on PS5. That might be a bummer to some of y'all that it's finally making the jump over to PlayStation, but it seems like the developers are excited about it. That was a big emphasis on their whole presentation. They were like, yes, the game looks better, but it's gonna have full cross-play, cross-progression, so if you decide to, you know, buy it on PlayStation, change your mind, play it on Xbox instead for whatever reason, your progress carries over. And I do think that even though Gears Reloaded is coming out on PlayStation, we're still getting some perks as Xbox fans. The more obvious one is it's being added day one to Game Pass, but also that it's supported by Play Anywhere, so if you want to play it on your PC, you can. Essentially, you're getting 2 copies of the game for the price of 1. So I played it on a Series X split screen for my first station. I played with John from Blue Thunder Gaming. It does look good. I don't think it was as big of a jump from the base Gears to Gears Ultimate, but a definite visual improvement, except for some reason on this station, the split screen station, during the cinematics, there was a good amount of screen tearing. It was kind of weird. Another feature that they were talking about was, oh, it's gonna be like minimal load times, like no load times, thanks to the tech of the current gen consoles. Which was true, but as someone who's played through Gears and Gears Ultimate a few times, it felt kind of weird. Like the game was not designed to go from, like we played through when Dom breaks Marcus out of the prison, up through like when Carmine dies for the first time. And it's very clear, like this game was not designed to go from like one stage to the next instant. It's like you go through the one thing, you sit at the loading screen, you kind of process what's going on, prep for what's gonna happen next. So it was a little bit jarring, those faster loading screens, as weird as it sounds. Then my next station, I again played on a Series X, but I had my own TV and I was playing co-op with someone on a PS5 Pro right next to me. And this is where I got to saw, okay, I'll get to compare literally side by side the differences in this game between a PS5 Pro and a Series X. And you know what? I don't have an eagle eye for these things like the Digital Foundry dudes, but I was looking back and forth during the cutscenes especially, and I was not able to tell like a huge difference between the two. If I had to say anything about it, I would maybe say like the HDR was a little bit better on the Pro. At some points, maybe a little smoother on the frame rate, but not by much. The campaign is capped out at 60 FPS anyway. You won't get 120 unless you're on multiplayer. So it was pretty damn similar. I also got to play Grounded 2, which was a ton of fun. And one of my big questions going into it, because it feels like Grounded just finally released the other day, when in reality, it's been 3 years. And so I got the opportunity to ask, hey, like, what was the primary motivator for going for a full-on sequel versus continuing to update that first Grounded? And basically what it came down to is that, number one, they wanted to shed legacy hardware, so they didn't want to support like Xbox One, PS4 anymore. They wanted to move on into the current generation and beyond, so they can build a bigger and better game, a bigger map. And as you saw in the trailer, they introduced mounts, buggies is what they call them, which was a major motivator because, well, when you have these mounts, traversal is a little bit easier. You're gonna need a bigger world for that. And damn it, they delivered. Like, don't get me wrong, I had fun with the first Grounded, but Grounded 2 is bigger and better in pretty much every way. First of all, it looks gorgeous, so you can really tell that they're taking advantage of that current gen hardware. Riding around on a fire ant was super, super fun. You can use it to chop down blades of grass and then stack and gather resources. You can use it to fight. You can use it to tame other ants and have them follow you around. There's been some definite improvement to the combat as well. And I even got to see like the different archetype sets, like a mage set, a ranger set, the fighter set. I think this is gonna do really, really well, especially considering the success of that first Grounded. And then as a little bonus, I got to play the Invincible fighting game. I've become a pretty big fan of the show, so I was excited to see it in the showcase, and doubly so to actually play it. And I kept talking with people throughout the weekend. I was like, dang, I just keep thinking about my demo for the Invincible game. I know some people are like, yeah, I thought it was gonna be like an open world game or like a story-driven game. So this is trash, I don't want it. Well, that's your loss because I had a really great time with it. The gore system in this is crazy. They don't have fatalities like in Mortal Kombat per se, but I did get to see the overkill mechanic, which is where you do a certain amount of damage when someone's at low health. You like blow their head off or something crazy like that. It is a 3v3 fighter, so I got to see just a little bit, I got a little taste of the potential combos and combo breaks that you can use the other characters for. It is pretty accessible as well. Even with my limited time in the game, I was able to pull off some pretty decent aerial combos, some pretty decent juggling as well. It was the first time I asked a question where I made a person uncomfortable on the development side. I started off, I was like, is it the original cast voicing this? Or is it like a voice match? What's the deal? And he was like, oh, I can't really say right now. I'm like, okay, there's a story there. That's interesting. It seems that they're committed to supporting this game long term, which is perfect. I mean, they can throw in pretty much, they have so many characters. Invincible is the perfect universe to do a fighting game like this. Not only like with the action and the gore, but in terms of its cast, like they can add an infinite amount of characters to this game if they want to. They can make a whole game about the Invincible variants if they want to, and it would work. So very excited to see more from this game. And overall, while they didn't have that like, oh my God, my jaw's on the floor moment, I think Xbox still did a pretty solid job with this showcase. I think they got their job done because it made me, not only as a creator, but as a fan of Xbox, it made me excited for the future. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. This is usually the part of the video where I say, yeah, subscribe because I'm working towards 200,000 subs, but I did it. I hit 200,000 subscribers and I honestly can't believe it. Thank y'all so much for sticking with me through this journey. I wouldn't be at these showcases or demoing these things without y'all. And while I'm not always able to get back to all of your messages and comments, just know that I am eternally grateful. Y'all have changed my life forever. Add me on Xbox, follow me on Instagram, wherever. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.